It is time for another instant reaction. Wow, wow, wow. The Detroit Lions outplay the Packers and beat Green Bay at Lambeau with nothing to play for. Nothing to play for. The minute Seattle beat the Rams, season's over for Detroit. The game, let's talk Lions first, because I have a lot to say on Green Bay. So the first 2.5, 3 quarters felt like a Lions game. Touchdown called back because of a penalty. Crucial interception called back because of a penalty. Detroit's had all sorts of talent through the years. Stafford, Calvin Johnson, Barry Sanders, to name a few offensive players. They have a way of beating themselves. In this game, their personnel and Green Bay's personnel, offensively, seriously, I would take the Lions. Now, defensively, I'd take Green Bay. But this was not a mismatch. You're talking about a Lions team offensively that's drafted extraordinarily well. And I thought what really jumped out, and I've said this before, there's not a lot of great in any business. The NFL's got about 6 great owners, 6 great coaches, 6 great quarterbacks, and at any one time, 6 great coordinators. Ben Johnson, the Lions coordinator, is a top 6 coordinator in this league. The final 2 drives by Detroit were beautiful. Power, perimeter, deception, screens. How about the trick play that picks up the big first down? What a time to call that. Ben Johnson's fantastic. And, you wonder if he gets a job, and about 7 openings a year, Harbaugh could get one. Sean Payton will probably get one if he wants one. Ben Johnson's probably, especially with the league now pivoting to offense. Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator Lions, going to get a head coaching opportunity, I would guess. Those final 2 drives, that's the ball game. Green Bay's defense, and there's a lot of good players on that defense, we're guessing. I'm watching that thing. I'm like, man, he's deceptive and smart and screens and power down the field. You got everything. Different personnel, multiple looks. It's like, wow, that is a great, great coordinator. And there's not, Wink Martindale, defensive coordinator for the Giants. Hell of a year. Kyle Shanahan for years, offensive coordinator around the league. It's just, you can see it jump off the TV screen. So this game felt like your typical Lions loss where they've got good players, they make big plays, but, poor on details, and they kick a win to the curb. Nope. They were the better coach team down the stretch, and Ben Johnson is going to make somebody probably very happy. Jared Goff may give up salary to keep him. All right, let's talk Green Bay. I said this Friday on FS1. If Green Bay loses, and I didn't think they would, but if Green Bay loses, or they got into the playoffs and got rolled, don't you have a meeting upstairs about Aaron Rodgers? Folks, you can miss the playoffs with Jordan Love and you don't get drama. And you get somebody that's around in the offseason, and you get somebody that embraces all the young teammates. This roster in Green Bay is very good. Let's think ahead. But the 2 things they absolutely need offensively, another wide receiver. Many mock drafts are speculating they'll get USC's Jordan Addison, and they need another tight end. A rookie receiver and a rookie tight end. Will Aaron be around in the offseason or on one of his renaissance seeking journeys? Because they're going to bring in another receiver and another tight end, and they're going to be rookies. And Christian Watson eventually developed into a stud for the Packers, but in September, October, he and Romeo Doubs were lost. Would they have been if Aaron stuck around? If Aaron's not doing Aaron's thing? I'm sorry, but there's no excuse for the Packers offense being as inept as it was in September and October and early November, because it was mostly, and there's some limitations on it, they need more perimeter weapons. But why did it get good in December? Because you bring rookies in. This is a complicated league. Aaron can be prickly. Matt LaFleur's probably a reasonably complex offense. Can't pick it up in 3 months. So Green Bay is going to do this again. They're going to go get pieces for the quarterback. Jordan Love will be at OTAs. Jordan Love will be there in preseason. Jordan Love will fly the guys out and have private throwing sessions. If I'm Green Bay, I can miss the playoffs with Jordan Love. And the last 2 times I've seen Jordan Love, I don't know. This roster, this offensive line, top 5. This roster is a good roster. This is not a rebuild. Jordan Love in this division, we don't know how good the Bears are, right? The Vikings always kind of feel like there's a ceiling with Kirk Cousins. Detroit's good, kind of, but missed the playoffs, and Ben Johnson, their brilliant offensive coordinator, could leave. So I just look at the whole Aaron thing. Aaron is so busy, manifesting his destiny. This team is once again going to go out and get young, skilled people in the draft. Is Aaron going to be there? And remember, Green Bay's got all of its picks. It would probably get 2 firsts or a first and 2 seconds if they moved Aaron. So you get more pieces. And Green Bay historically has drafted pretty well. They're a top 3rd team in the league in drafting. Get 2 firsts, not just 1. 2 firsts, 2 thirds. Maybe a second next year. Give Jordan Love more to work with. Now, people always talk about Aaron's salary and the dead cap money. But because you're not paying Jordan Love anything, it lessens the financial burden. And this roster, Green Bay's never been a big free agent destination anyway. And this roster doesn't have a lot of immediate needs. They could use another edge rusher. But their corners are good. Safeties are fine. D-line's strong. O-line's strong. They have 2 good backs. Aaron Jones is just one of my favorite players in the league. He's a great player. So not a lot of needs. Receiver, tight end. Who's going to be there in the offseason to work with him? Jordan Love would. I'll go back to it again. The Tennessee Titans feel like the destination for me. But, it's funny about Aaron is I was watching Deshaun Watson, and, he took a couple years off, and he comes back into the AFC. He's not close to Allen. He's not close to Mahomes. He's not close to Herbert. He's not close to Burrow. This AFC, Trevor Lawrence, has gotten so good at quarterback. Aaron Rodgers, folks, he's like the hotel that hasn't kept up. You ever go to a hotel? There's a hotel chain, and then, over the course of time, they get new owners or new management. You go back to it, and it's more about the reputation than it is reality. We've all done that before, that restaurants or hotels, and, they just don't keep up. Aaron doesn't keep up in the offseason like Joe Burrow and Herbert and Mahomes and Allen. Aaron's more prickly. He's less coachable. I look at Aaron Rodgers right now. I'm in no way insinuating he holds Green Bay back, but this is a really good roster with an offensive coach, good O-line, need a couple more weapons. I think you have to have a meeting if you're Green Bay. They have been walking on eggshells for 4 years with Aaron. The passive-aggressive nonsense. At some point, you moved up in the first round for Jordan Love. Rip the Band-Aid off. Rip it off. I think Tennessee is the location. I think the Raiders would have to look at it. But, we can keep making excuses for Aaron Rodgers. But a lot of this is on him. He's not keeping up. He is not as committed as others. He's no longer in his prime. He's going to be 39. He's super expensive. He won't be around in the offseason. I think you have to have that meeting upstairs. Way to go, Lions. Hell of a win. All right, I want to talk about this. So a lot of people ripped the Houston Texans because the Chicago Bears now have the number 1 pick because the Texans beat the Colts, right? This is not a tanking league. That's the league with an orange basketball that's round. They tank. You don't tank in football. You can't tell guys to tank. You get hurt if you tank. So the Chicago Bears now have the number 1 pick. They're going to have great leverage. They have their quarterback, and they need to rebuild a lot, mostly their offense, which is a perpetual issue. So the Bears GM is Ryan Poles. They'll trade out of the number 1 spot potentially and get another number 2 pick, number 3 pick. Who knows what they'll get? Maybe they'll get another first-round pick. But I just do not trust this organization to build or rebuild an offense. The last time they had an elite offense was 9 years ago in 2013. Remember the Jay Cutler offense? Matt Forte, Martellus Bennett tight end, Alshon Jeffrey wide receiver. I think Brandon Marshall may have been a receiver on that team. I could be wrong. That was a top 2-3 scoring team in the NFL. That was a really good offense. But, I mean, you could go online and look up 10 best Bears offenses of all time. I mean, half will be in the 50s. This is an organization that can't get offense right. Last year's a great example. They bring in a new GM and a coach. They hire a defensive coach. First 2 picks, cornerback, safety, both excellent. Third pick's a receiver. Borderline bust, Velus Jones. They could have called me. I watched him at USC. He couldn't track the ball in the air. You know, he's a gadget player with good speed. He's not a go-to receiver. He's not a third-round pick. He's a 6th or a 7th-round pick. So you got to give the Texans a break. This is not a tanking league. It's just the game's too fast. It's got too much violence. People could get hurt. You got to play full speed. Your head's on a swivel. You're not going out there and half-assing it. That's just not football. And to be honest with you, I thought it was cool the way the Texans played. It's one of the reasons I love the NFL. Guys play hurt. Guys play with passion. Guys always play hard. I mean, the Detroit Lions tonight had nothing to play for. The Houston Texans could have lost. Isn't that why we love professional football in America? Isn't that why? Every game matters. That's why the sport is so much more popular than every other professional league in America. There is no load management nonsense. I don't trust the Bears to rebuild the offense. I don't. I've said this before, outside of Trevor Lawrence, Andrew Luck, maybe John Elway, most quarterbacks are as good as their support system. I mean, look at Mac Jones, how he regressed this year. Why? The Patriots. They don't have enough skill players. They need to upgrade their line. They used a defensive coordinator. Matt Patricia is an offensive coordinator. Unless you're Trevor Lawrence or Andrew Luck or maybe Mahomes. I mean, even Josh Allen, as good as he is, has regressed a little bit situationally since Brian Daboll left. Like coaching matters, support systems matter, and I don't trust the Bears offensively. They've built a lot of great defenses, but there's just certain organizations that get offense right, and the Bears do defense well, but they are in the catbird seat. It is a great opportunity for them. All right, let's talk Cowboys' embarrassing performance against the Commanders. Listen, as I've said a million times, I never get disappointed with the Cowboys because I've always kind of classified them as pretty good. I think they're pretty good. Dak is Kirk Cousins with a better PR team. His career passer rating is 98. He's a mostly accurate thrower of the football with certain limitations in arm strength, and his intangibles are better than his tangibles. I thought the interesting comment, though, was really smart. NBC's Jason Garrett. I thought this was really interesting. He said, watch the Cowboys defense, because I don't want to pick on Dak all night. Dak is what he is. I've been saying this for years. He's a B-plus quarterback, and there's a dozen in the league. Jason Garrett said on NBC, he said, this defense relies on speed, and when they play on grass against Green Bay at Lambeau, against the Commanders, they're not as fast. This defense, when they play in that Cowboys stadium or they play on the fast turf, inside, they are a track team. But you watch them at Lambeau, you watch them against the Commanders. I thought Jason Garrett nailed it, and he knows this personnel. They're just not the same defense. So, I look at the Cowboys. I'm not sure they're that much more talented than the Commanders. The Commanders just can't get quarterback right. I think that the Cowboys, I've said this for months, I think they have some really special individual players. I don't think they have that many special units. I don't think their secondary is great. I think Zeke doesn't have the pop he used to. I think they're a wide receiver shy. I think their offensive line sometimes feels like it's a little bit patchwork. It's okay. Defensive line is inconsistent. They have great individual players. Tell me the unit that is great. They're not nearly as talented offensively as Cincinnati or San Francisco. They're not as good defensively as Philadelphia or San Francisco, or as talented as Buffalo defensively. I think they're pretty good. And pretty good teams usually get into the playoffs and win one game or are eliminated. And I feel once again, that's what we'll see. Was I surprised the Cowboys laid a complete egg? It's the NBA, the NFL has extended the season. It's longer than ever. I've seen a half a dozen games this year. Minnesota getting destroyed by both the Cowboys and Green Bay. I'm surprised. I thought the Raiders' effort against the Chiefs this weekend was pathetic. They didn't look prepared offensively. So I thought the Packers tonight were a little flat, to be honest with you. I think Dallas feels like a team capable of winning a single playoff game. And that's about it. If you start holistically looking at where the playoffs are, increasingly, I'm going to go look this morning when I get to Fox Sports, but I think I called 6 of the 7 AFC playoff teams and 5 of the 7 NFC playoff teams. I did not see the Seahawks getting in. I did not see the Jaguars getting in. I thought the Rams would be better. I thought the Broncos would be better. But in most instances, if you look around at the teams that got into the playoffs, including Miami, who limped in, but they got in because they were very strong early offensively with Tua and the cast. If you look around this league, it's becoming fairly predictable. It has become more and more quarterback-centric. Dak's a B-plus quarterback. You got to have a B-plus and up at quarterback. You're going to generally find your way into the postseason. So our instant reaction, the lead story, let's circle back. Detroit with a really clever final 2 offensive drives with brilliant coordinator Ben Johnson gets themselves a W. The Packers missed the playoffs in large part. Aaron Rodgers wouldn't put in the time in the offseason. It took them until well past Thanksgiving to get their act together offensively, and they got outplayed tonight. That was a fun game, wasn't it? That was fun. There was a lot at stake. The NFL's last regular season game. This is why it's in its own galaxy. A playoff spot was determined on the final drive of the NFL regular season. Can't ask for more. I'm lucky to do what I do. All right, that's tonight's instant reaction.